Okay, sir.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So hi all. Yeah. As discussed yesterday, today we'll be discussing with filters on the continuation. So yesterday we discussed on the differences between say a report filter and view filter. So we'll just refresh for a minute on that difference between report filter and view filter, and then probably from there, right? So we'll just take it up the other things. So any one of you, right, who have joined probably can tell me all the differences which we have seen yesterday.
డైలీ ఒకరండి అక్కడ ల్యాప్టాప్ కూర్చోండి డైలీ ఒకరు చెప్పండి కావాలంటే రోజు ఒకరంటే కూడా డైలీ ఒకరండి
Hello. Yeah, so anyone wants to tell, because we could hear a lot of noise from there, like in the classroom. So anyone wants to tell, it's fine. Like if not, leave it. Anyone who joined online, you can just tell it. So before we get started with today's session. No, I just don't want to type something. So as I said, that will not help actually. So the purpose. So if someone want to unmute yourself and then write it, it's fine. So if not, just leave it actually.
So Srini, you asked the difference between report filter and view filter. Was that your question?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay. So report filter will impact SQL, whereas view filter will not.
Okay.
That is one difference.
Right. So I'm looking out for all differences, all four.
So report filter, it is a we can say it is as a global filter. So we can say view filter as a something like local
Okay.
local filter, and SQL engine deals with report filter. So whereas coming to analytical engine deals with view filter.
Okay.
In report filter, it affects the where class of SQL, and view filter is something like analytical. So
And why are stopping? Just complete answer, because in an entry we cannot stop in between. We have to complete the complete thing. Okay.
yeah.
Fine. You want to tell? Then fine. Go ahead, please. So basically, so yesterday we have seen the specific things. So just recap of that before we get into more details in the today's session. So yesterday what we have done basically is we discussed a couple of points on a say a report filter and view filter. So I just tell this is one like say very important say difference in like many different entries for which, right? So just try to understand here. So where this particular I'm putting in short. So you have say for example a report filter will be evaluated at SQL engine. So that the other one is at analytical engine, and when we take the next point basically, so it can be whatever you said, global, local, right? So the same thing, it can be reused in multiple reports. It can be reused in say multiple reports when created as a standalone. And apart from that, the important point, we can apply condition to all attributes and metrics, all the attributes and then all the metrics present in the project. So report filter will be evaluated at SQL engine, and condition and where loss of SQL, or you want to put in other one, you can just put like it has impact on the SQL. The same thing. So when someone asks you on the view filter, right? So you can just have this. Instead of a report filter, say we say view filter will be evaluated at instead of SQL, right? So what did I say basically? So it is going to calculate at the analytical engine in the condition, and then what we can say basically is there will not be any impact on the SQL. Then after this, it can be reused in multiple reports. For this one, what we can say? It is limited to single report. You cannot use like say one condition in other condition. It is limited to a single report. And then on the third point, right? So yesterday when we have seen, right? So we can apply condition to all attributes and all metrics. So instead of that, right? So I just provide, say you can just apply condition to objects present in which section basically means not report template. So it is a report object section. So these are the different things we have discussed yesterday, and these are key point. So what we'll do basically is today we'll just try to focus on trying up with the types of filters, types of report filters. These are the types of filters, and then under a report filter again there are types. So we'll just start with one, and then we'll see till 1 hour where we are, and then till which point you are getting. So under the types of report filter, so primarily we'll start with two things today. So one is attribute qualification and the other one is a set qualification. So those are the two things which we'll be discussing. But apart from that, before we discuss that, right, so any questions on that report filter, view filter differences, because irrespective of your experience, right, so this is very common question across many different interviews. Many different interviews, this is a common question. So on that lines, right? So anyone have any questions on that one? Okay, in report filter, what is the question? Can we use multiple conditions? Yes, we can use it. We'll be seeing that today. Okay, so now so yeah, probably today, tomorrow, right? So complete thing will spend on the report filter itself. So just I move on to the next concept basically on the types of report filter. So on this particular types, what we do is we'll just start with couple of things today. So one is attribute qualification and set qualification. And before that, I also given you an assignment basically yesterday to search on what is null and then what is null. So just let me continue with class. So when the as part of our particular filter conditions, we'll get there. And during that particular phase, I'm going to ask you. So I have a attribute qualification and then we'll see these two things today. So, and then we have a set qualification. So there are, different types, 5 different types, out of which primarily we'll be looking at two things today. So one is attribute qualification and the other one is a set qualification. So when you look at the first, the type, right? So from the name itself, right? You look at this one. So when we use that particular type means whenever you want to apply condition on attribute. So on an attribute, so what are the different ways you can apply condition? What are the different operators you'll be using? So all those things we'll be seeing in. And apart from attribute, so attribute means for an example, so year is an attribute. So instead of saying all 10 years, right, you want to say only for like few years, like say 2 years, 3 years, you want to apply condition. So during which you make use of attribute qualification. You want to just put on categories, on employees or any dimension, right? Any dimension attribute you want to apply condition. So in that particular case, you make use of the first type. That is an attribute qualification. But whereas your requirement is a different thing. Your requirement is, say for example, you want to apply condition. You want to apply condition based on a metrics. Metrics means I want to find out top 10 employees who generated maximum profit. So in that case, you need to apply condition on profit, get top 10 profit values, or else you want profit between X range to Y range, X range to Y range, or whoever like bottom, right? So all these particular things you need to do on a matrices, and whenever you want to apply condition on a matrix, then you make use of a set qualification. You make use of a set qualification. So there are different types, but these are the two commonly used in most of the reports. So you want to apply condition on attribute, use attribute qualification. So whenever you want to apply condition on matrix, you make use of set qualification. So how to create that attribute qualification? So what are the different conditions we have, or different operators, or different qualifications, right? So all these specific things we will be seeing. So in order to do that, we'll create some few filters, and from there So I'm just getting to the, so yesterday's folder where we have created reports. So okay, so now so whenever we say filters, right, we'll create them as when people are not talking, right, can you go on mute? I think who is Sadanandam, I'm not sure, like, hello? Okay. So basically, I'm creating up one folder for like all our filters to have at one place. So just simply right click, then go to new. Within that new, you get different options here, out of which our, for today, right? So what we do basically, we create a filter. So just get to that new filter. So it shows here that template, like say here it is an empty filter. So just simply click on that empty filter. And once you do it, if you look at this one, it asks you double click here to add a qualification. So once you double click at this particular place, it shows that options. These are all the types which we are discussing basically. So there is an attribute qualification. So we'll start with the first one. Just click OK. So once you click OK, then it will ask you to browse any attribute. Means in your project on which attribute you want to apply condition. So you need to just select that particular attribute here. So just select it. It shows all the list of attributes. Just choose whichever you want. Say for example, I want for an example region assume. So just select that particular region and then click OK. So as soon as you click OK on the region, you get just below this particular options here. So one is qualify on, the other one is operators. These are the two things which we'll need to understand. So under qualify on, first thing we'll just try to understand. As soon as you select any attribute, you get different options. One is qualify on and the other one is an operator. So in this particular qualify on, you have a drop down list. So it has different values in it. So once you just select this one, so you have an option called elements, you have an option called IDs, and then you have an option called description. So now what is this particular ID, what is this particular description, and what is this particular element? So first thing you need to understand that, and accordingly when you have this qualify on as element, right? So look at the operator list. Operator list, you have two things, in list and then not in list. So instead of elements, I'm just switching, say for example, from the elements option, I'm just switching on to ID. So once I do it, then just expand this, you see different operators getting listed here. So what I say is, whenever system considers that particular form, so what is that form? I'll tell you. What is this ID means? ID is a form of an attribute. So what is form we'll discuss. So this ID system considers as numeric. System considers as numeric, and hence it shows all the list of operators which can be applied on numbers, like exactly means equal to, in list, not in list. So between all these things, what are all these operators? Most of the things you are, you know, by looking at the name. So whatever you don't know, we'll just take an example and then we do it. And apart from that, so when I switch from ID to a descriptive, so whenever it is a descriptive, system considers it either as a numeric or a descriptive. Whenever we create a descriptive, right? So it can contain numbers or it can contain some text here. So on that line, say for example, you just expand this. You see now the list got increased. Till this, the list remains same as ID, means it considers that as a number. So if it is number, you can apply all the operators above this one. And if it is something a textual, then you use the other operators like begins with, like, contains, ends with, does not begin with, not like, does not contain, does not end with. So all these particular below operators you use, right? So whenever it is a, I mean, textual one. So most of the cases, say 90%, descriptive part will be textual, but again there are 10% chances wherein your descriptive also can be an ID, can be also an ID. And apart from that, like you have elements. So what is this element? What is this ID? First we'll just try to understand, because operators are very simple. So greater than, less than, so very elementary mathematics, fine. So that we'll see it, what each one of that is. But again, first thing, let me tell you what is ID and then what is a descriptive. Okay, so once you install, so I think people are in that, right? So already say MicroStrategy in your machine, and yeah, here, right? So probably it will be done by this particular weekend, say a day or two. So they are working today. So probably if it gets fixed today, tomorrow onwards you can do lab. So okay. So now, okay. So let me once you install that MicroStrategy, right? So do you know like where that particular software gets installed, in which folder? Hello guys, like once you install any software, right? Not MicroStrategy, I'm asking, any software, right? Where it gets installed? Okay, in the C drive. So by default, okay. Fine, so let's navigate that. So in this system we have MicroStrategy, right? So I'm just getting to the same thing. Say, okay, and then I'm just getting into that folder. I'm not sure like why it's very slow today. Okay, I think they got disconnected from class.
Yes, sir. Gotcha.
Hello?
Sir.
I think that might be some net disconnect or something. So now it's fine, it's working fine. Okay. Hello?
Hello, sir. హలో సార్ వినపడుతుంది ఇప్పుడు.
Okay, fine. Okay, so fine. So let me tell you, just come to that C drive, and then basically if you are like, I mean, software, right, basically is a so generally once you install any software, right, so you just like see whether it is a 32-bit and 64-bit. So if it is a 32-bit, right, so that comes and sits in x86 folder. If it is 64, then it comes and sits in the program files. But again, there might be at times exception basically. So it's better to check in both the files, like program files as well as the program files x86. So just open that particular folder, and once you open it, so you need to check for a folder with name, say, MicroStrategy. So once you don't find in, say, a program files, so just get into program files x86, and then from there you can find a folder with MicroStrategy. So just open that particular folder, MicroStrategy, and there will be different folders basically. So from that particular folders, so just get to a folder like tutorial reporting, because say in, I mean, MicroStrategy, there were different projects out of which we have chosen MicroStrategy tutorial project. So just get to that particular tutorial reporting. Yeah, there will be different files. Just come down. So I'm just showing you your data warehouse or the database what we are connecting. So we are just trying to run some reports, right? So all these particular reports, where it is getting source, or like what is the source, right? So that I'm showing you now. Okay, so if you look at this specific thing, you see something called tutorial underscore data, and then with, I mean, the suffix as 7200, right? So this will be the database which will be working throughout our course, right? So at least for whatever time we are working, right? So we'll be using this particular database. And what is a database? Basically is Microsoft Office Access database. So this database we take as a source, and then we just try to build up our reports actually, but like probably during the admin, if you want to connect to, you want connect, say for example Oracle, you want to connect to SQL Server, so how to do it, that also will be saying. But again with 10th version, right, so you don't require all these things. It is like just a GUI wherein you need to know a port number, then user ID, password, the credentials, what you need to log in. So using that you do it. But yeah, that during admin we'll discuss. But as of now, assume this is your database. Once you install MicroStrategy, once you install MicroStrategy in your machine, right, then in that particular case, you'll get a default database that will be a Microsoft Access database, the tutorial database. So once you open it, you see many different tables here. So these are all the list of the tables which will be working. So whenever you create report, that report is coming here and hitting these corresponding tables and bringing data. So if you remember, say for example, you have year on your report. Say I just get to that table. So here again, one naming convention you need to remember is you have a tables with prefix LU. So what does that LU means? Lookup table. So wherever you see that prefix as LU, that indicates it is a dimension table. It is a dimension table. And for all the tables, if you don't see any prefix, for an example, I'll just show you. So if you look at this one, year category sales. So by looking at the table itself, I say this is a fact table. So year category, YTD underscore day, right? So apart from that, subcategory month, call center sales, subcategory this one. So wherever you don't see any prefix, right? So what we can say basically is that particular table is a fact table. And wherever you see a table having a prefix as LU, so that indicates it is a dimension table. So in any project, it is not guaranteed that every project they follow the same naming convention. Like LU underscore means dimension table, without prefix means a fact table. So every project has their own naming standards or their own naming conventions. So in one of the project, right, so you find DIM underscore. DIM means dimension table. And then for the fact tables, you see F underscore then the fact table name. So based on the project naming, whatever they define initially, right? So based on that, they'll go ahead. But for us on the tutorial one, what we have is LU underscore prefix means it is a dimension table. If you don't see any prefix, then it is a fact table. So on that lines, let's see this particular year table. So you just click on that specific year table in order to see data for any particular table, right? So just select that particular table. Okay, if you look at this particular year here, so you could see here basically, just look at this one, 2010, 2011, 12 and this one, then you do have a year date, that's fine. Now basically whenever you are running report, right, so you see 11, 12 report, don't see 13 because any metric value is there for this 3 years, 10, 11, 12. Hence on your report, you are getting only this particular 3 different years actually, so that you'll understand in a coming session. And then say for example, you want to see some other things. Say for example, I've just selected subcategory. I'll just show you a few basic tables which we'll use mostly in our reporting. So I just get to subcategory. So once you get to, they say that subcategory, right? So there is a table where you find Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure like whether we can continue with this speed or with these problems. So let me see the next 15-20 minutes. If everything is fine, then we'll work it. If not, like probably we have to install a server here and then connect here only. So fine, let me see for 15 minutes and then we'll take a call. Okay, so now if you look at this specific thing, here you have a subcategory ID and then you have all the IDs here and then subcategory description here and so on. And when you see any other table here, region table, so just select that particular region table and you see here that particular region table as like region IDs 1 till 12 and then say you see the region names. So what you're observing basically here is, so when you see a region table, when you see a category table, when you see year table or any different table, a supplier table or any different table, so what you observe basically is you'll have one ID and you'll have one description or like that supplier ID and then the supplier name, the supplier ID and then the supplier name. So this is supplier name which shows different suppliers name. So on that lines, whenever you have a table at the backend or else at the database, they will have one separate column for an ID and one separate column for a description, one separate column for a description. So all other things explains about this ID or else they are going to act as a key columns like foreign keys to establish relationship with other tables. So on that lines basically, so whenever you look at your database tables, so this again will revisit often and then we'll say it, but for today just try to focus here. So in the database, whenever you take subcategory, right, so the subcategory has one ID value. Apart from that, it is going to have one descriptive form. So now whenever on the attribute you are applying condition on ID, ID means you are applying condition on this particular column. So this particular all values, ID values. Whenever it is descriptive, descriptive means you are going to apply some condition on this one. You are going to apply on this specific thing, business, or you want to find out all degrees which starts with B or which starts with S, which ends with X, whatever it is. So you want to apply some condition, right? So this is what the descriptive part. And there is another thing called elements. Elements means, so for the subcategory description, so what are the elements? Like all this, whatever you see arts and architecture books, right? So all these are the values of an attribute. The values of an attribute is called element. The values of an attribute is called elements. So all these things, whatever you see arts and architecture till soul, right? I say these are the elements of subcategory description. These are the elements of subcategory description. And apart from that, so I say these are my IDs. So the subcategory ID, right? So these are my IDs and this particular column is a descriptive. So then what is a descriptive bit, I mean difference between descriptive part and elements? So that we'll know during, I mean when we apply the condition. When we apply the condition, I'll explain you. But whenever we have at the database level ID and then descriptive, so whenever it comes to MicroStrategy, so it comes to MicroStrategy, so the same subcategory, so just I'll show you how we do that in MicroStrategy basically. So this is what I was just talking, right? So there you have seen ID and there you have seen descriptive, right? So basically at MSTR what we do is this ID and then this particular descriptive. We just combine them and create it as a single column. So what does that mean is at the database level you have two different columns, one ID and then one descriptive or one name. But whereas when it comes to MicroStrategy, you combine that ID and then you combine that textual or a descriptive and then create it as one single attribute. Create it as one single attribute. I think guys, I mean, I'll just disconnect myself and then just connect back in, see whether there is, I mean, any improvement on the connection, because I'm connecting to Hyderabad system and then just doing it. I'll just see it. If I mean this is the case, I cannot continue, because I mean it's really frustrating for me to click on any option and taking a minute to load, right? Okay, so now, yeah, let me, yeah, just say it actually. So whenever that same subcategory, right, we create at same MicroStrategy level basically. So what we do is, so just forget about this one. This is a part of schema session, but again, right, so that thing will be seeing in during our schema objects. As of now, just I want to tell you at the database level, we have two different columns and how we combine the two different columns in MicroStrategy. So basically, whenever you are creating any attribute, so what we do basically is, so first thing, I'm just taking that ID form of it. So whatever you have seen, that 11, 12 and then 21, 22, right? So that specific things, whatever you see it. So first thing, you have that options here. Say for example, you have seen here, now subcategory ID. You just click OK. And then what I do basically is, you just click on new. And then basically, so just get to subcategory, description, and then click OK. So in this way, what I am doing is, at the MicroStrategy level, I just combine the ID and then I combine the description. Means two columns of a database, I'm going to just combine it. So be it subcategory, region ID, region name, category ID, category description, customer ID, customer name, employee ID, employee name. For all that particular attributes, right? So what I do basically is, I'm just going to combine the ID and description, and then I just create it as a single attribute. So in MicroStrategy, whatever attribute you take, right? So generally it will have that ID form as well as the descriptive form. So both forms means that ID means one column, descriptive means another column. So that technically in MSTR we call that as ID form and then we call that as a descriptive form. So whenever we create any attribute, you combine that ID form and then you combine the descriptive form into single thing. You combine the ID and then you combine the descriptive. So whenever you apply condition on your report, right, or else whenever you run on your report also, I'll just show you on your report as well. So you just right click and then whenever you create any report by using any of the existing one, so just go over here, a blank report. And just go to, say for example, attributes. So I'm just placing up, say for example, a category, or else you place some, say for example, supplier. Right, you just run this report. So you see category and then you see supplier, but whereas once you go to SQL view, just try to look at this specific thing here. So if you look at here, you see category only are placed, but for category it has got two different columns. One is category ID, the other one is a category description. For supplier also, you placed only one thing, but it has fetched two. One is supplier ID and the other one is a supplier name. So in this particular lines, once you go to grid view, you are seeing now only the descriptive. But if at all you want to see the ID one, right? So you can just right click, then go to attribute forms and then select ID. And then on a similar lines, you can just select this one, attribute forms, and then ID. So most of the attributes I say will have ID as well as a descriptive, both the forms. But for the report display, so during creation of an attribute, what we do basically is we just ensure that only the descriptive form is displayed, because this is what matters to your business. So on that particular lines, only we are going to show up the descriptive part on your report. Okay, fine. So now whenever you want to apply condition on that numbers, right, 1, 2, 3, so that is an ID form. So whenever you want to apply condition on this specific books, electronics, movies, you want to check some condition on this, then you need to go for the textual form. So you want to just include or exclude certain things, you go for elements. Elements means, so what I say, all these are the elements. All these are the elements of my supplier. So whenever you want to apply condition on elements, then you go for the filter as, so just right click. So just let me open that particular filter. So if you go for this particular filter, region ID, so instead of ID, I'm just getting to elements. So whenever it is elements, then it gives me an option like in list and then not in list. So whenever it is in list, right, so just select that particular in list and then click on add. So once you click on add, it shows all the elements, all the values of the region, all the values of the region. From here, whatever you want, say for example, I just want say northeast, say for example northwest, and then I just want southeast and southwest. So I want to find out data for this particular region alone itself. So just select this one, click OK. So once again click OK, that's it. So now this is a condition you have defined, region in list, this particular regions means, so what is this particular in list means? So include this particular 4 values on the report. So once you create it, so you need to save it, your filter. So basically I just provide, say for example, south, north, and then I provide regions. And once you create up a filter, say you need to use on a report. So I just get to my reports folder, and under reports we already created say demo reports. So just go there, and then what I'm doing is for all my say filter reports, what is we work, right? So we should just create some folder, demo filters. So I create another one for the older one. Okay, so now I've created that filter. So once you create a filter, so now any report, the usage is same, only the condition is going to differ. So based on whatever condition you provide, so just go to that particular blank report, and as I have region on my report, so I'm just simply placing up that region attribute. So just go to geography and then just drag your region, and what matrices you need to see, select that particular matrices, and then just navigate to the sales metric. Under the sales metric, so which you want to see data, for which you want to see data, so just place that one. Say for example I want to see profit, fine. So when you run the report, now just try to see, you see data for 8 different regions here, for all 8 regions which has profit data. And now I want to apply a condition, so just come here, go to public objects, under the public objects, so just go to filter and then demo filters, whatever filter we have created, south and north region, and then just try to run this report. So once you execute this report, you could see data for northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, whatever. This was our condition basically. So I just save this one. So this is my say I've created for, say for example, attribute qualification assume. So what I'm doing is, now I've saved this particular report, and once I've done this, I just get to my filters section, and in my filter what I am doing is I'm just editing this particular filter, double click. So in list means, so I want to include these values. So now the question here is total we have 8 regions, and what I have done initially my condition was this, but later on due to some business requirement I have to just modify this condition. So say the client asked me to display, say for example, only say south, southeast and then southwest. These are the 3 different regions assume I want to display on my report. So on that lines, right? So now already in my initial one what I have done, I have applied here one filter condition, and this filter condition I have used in some report. That is fine. And then I have executed it. You could see 4 different regions here. But now what happened is, after execution of a report, after I have saved that particular report, I went to my filter and then I modified my filter condition to a new one. So what this particular things basically is, so I have just modified this particular filter to have only south region. So be the name also is same, everything is same, only the condition I have modified. Instead of northeast and northwest, I have added one extra region as south. So in that particular case, whenever I run my report, right? So what do you feel? So will that particular report is going to give me 4 regions, 2 of south and 2 of north, or else it is going to give me 3 regions. So what is your assumption?
South only 3.
Only 3. Okay, so how about others? Except Tarun. So only 3. Okay, fine. So basically whatever you said is perfect. So just try to understand. So your report stores only that condition, means okay. So this report has X filter, that's it. So it doesn't store that south, southeast, southwest and so on. So instead what it stores basically is, once you open this particular report, so this particular report is going to store only this condition. So whenever you run this report, again it is going to pick the latest condition from this report which is having 3 regions. You just try to verify it, just try to run it and see. So whenever you modify filter, all the associated reports also gets impacted, all the associated reports also get changed. So in this particular case, say for example, now you have a requirement, other requirement. So except south regions, you want data for all the other regions as well. Except south regions, you want data for all the other regions. So there are 20 regions assume. So there are 20 regions. Out of 20 regions, there are 3 regions which are related to south. And your requirement is you need to get data for 17 regions and you don't want for 3 regions. You don't want data for 3 regions. So on that particular lines, right? So which one will be better? To include 17 values. Say just I click on remove. I just click on remove and then click on add, and then basically selecting 17 values is easy, or just excluding that values, like that 3 values whichever is not required is easy. Basically means whichever is not required, right? So that will be easy because you need to select only 2 values. So whenever your condition is such that, so instead of enlist, enlist means include, instead of enlist you get just to not enlist, then click on add, and then whatever condition you want you can just do it. So on that lines, I don't want south region, except south I want all other regions. So this is what the condition you are going to provide. So just save this. Okay, so once you do it, so just go to your report and then just try to run it. So what do you see basically is 5 different regions except your south regions. You see all things. So whenever you want to include certain set of values, then you go for elements in list. Whenever you want to exclude certain values, elements not in list, elements not in list. So on the same lines, what I'm doing is, so just go to that same empty filter, and then what I'm doing is, so just go there, add an attribute qualification. So just select this one, then click on browse. Okay, I want to apply on a region but a different condition assume. So just browse your region. on which you want to apply condition. So elements means it has two operators. One is in list and the other one is not in list. So what I am doing basically is I am switching from elements to ID. So once I switch from elements to ID, so if you look at this specific thing, here the list of operators got changed. So we'll just discuss each one of them in detail. So region ID, and then I put exactly, and then what I'm doing basically is I'm just putting 5 and then just save this one. So this one I'm just providing as region IDs. So I'll just have this filter for working on different operators on IDs. So I've just saved this, and then instead of using it on a same report, so let me use on a other report. So just go there, report, just click OK. So just get to attributes, and in attributes I want to see year wise regional sales and profit. So just go to year and then just get to region and then get on metrics, under metrics, say sales metrics. So I want to include a revenue as in this report. Okay, so when I run this report, now I see data for all different regions, all 8 regions for 2010, 11 and 12. So what I am doing is, so to this particular report, what I am doing is I'm adding that condition. So public objects, then under where I have created my filter, under the filters folder, then just get to demo filters. In the demo filters, select your region IDs. So once I run this, what was the condition here? You want to see that? You can just double click here. That's it. Region ID exactly fine. So what do you feel? When I run this report, so how many regions will come on the report? 5 regions? So only one region with ID 5, perfect. So you just run this one. So now you see region is there. You want to confirm whether it is 5 or not. Right click, go to attribute forms, click on ID. So once you see there is ID form 5, you see it. So just I save this one, and then okay, few more basic questions from there, because yeah, I hope like everyone good at a very basic things like exactly means equal to those things. So what we'll do is we'll take some different things. So just get to IDs, and then I'll just walk through all these particular operators. Exactly means you everyone said correctly. Exactly means equal to 5. But say for example, I want to have two values actually. Say for example 5 and then comma 7. So then basically 5 have south and then 7 south east or southwest. So I just save this particular value, and then exactly 5 comma 7 I have given my condition. So when I run my report now, basically what do you feel I'll get? So I have given my condition, if you remember earlier, region ID equal to 5, then basically I've changed that region ID exactly 5 comma 7. So once I do it, what is that my report is going to show me? Two values with region IDs and 5 and 7, or only region ID with 5? So 5 and 7, one input I got. Like how about others? Two values with ID 5 comma 7. Kranti. Okay. I'm just waiting for a few more inputs. So I got 3 inputs, like couple of more inputs I'm just waiting. So one last. Guys, people are listening, right? Like I'm in class, just respond. Or if everyone went to sleep already.
No, sir. Region ID 5 and 7 it is.
Okay. Okay, who is that? Who answered it now?
Santosh.
Santosh, it's 5 and 7. Okay, fine. So all 5 members who have answered, your answer is 1. Say 5 and 7. So let's try to run. This is a report where we have used that one, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
The filter we have used here. I'm just trying to run that report now. And what is that it is showing? Whether you got 2 values? Yes or no?
No, we don't get it.
No. So what is that it is showing basically here?
No data for
Sorry? So the report returns no data. Please check the report or the view filter definition basically. So what does that mean is, so whatever condition you have provided, right? So there is no, data in the table to meet that requirement, to meet that particular requirement. So why basically, I'll just tell you basically. So what happens basically is, when in case of exactly, right, you can just provide only one single value. For exactly, you can provide only single value. When you provide 2 values, right, system takes that as a different thing. I'll just show you. So just edit this one. So whenever it is 5,7 I have entered, while entering I didn't enter 57. So instead I entered 5,7, but what basically happens is, as soon as I click OK, system considers that as single value only. So whenever it is exactly, it is a single value. So whenever you want to have multiple values, for which instead of exactly, you need to move to enlist. So enlist will allow you to pass or like apply condition on multiple values, whereas exactly means single value. So the same thing, let me do like this, 5,7, right, I've just applied this condition, but using a different operator. Instead of exactly, I've used a enlist. So once I do it, so just get to my demo filters, under my demo filters, so just try to run this report. So you could see now 5 and then 7, 5, 7, 5, 7 for 3 different years. So just remember, exactly means single value, and whenever it is multi-value, what is that you need to do? You need to go for what? You need to go for enlist, or right, you want only that two, then you need to go for enlist. So I don't want this two, except this two I want all things. Then instead of enlist, you go for not enlist. So whenever you go for not enlist, right, so in that particular case, whenever you run this report, right, so then except this two, means it has to display 6 regions for each of the year. So just run this. So you see now 6 different regions, except that 5,7, all the other regions are getting displayed. So the very basic, English, enlist, not enlist, or people who know SQL, right, so it is very simple as well if you write different where conditions. So on a similar lines, here we do it using a GUI, that's it. So here greater than means everyone knows. If I say greater than 5, it will show me all the IDs greater than 5, starts from 6 till whatever IDs it has. So apart from greater than, you have something called greater than equal to. What is difference between greater than and greater than equal to means? Here in this case, even 5 will be included. Even 5 will be included. Same the case, less than or less than or equal to. Less than 5 means only IDs less than 5. Less than or equal to means even that 5 will be included. Different from means it is an opposite for exactly. So if I give something different from 5, it is not equal to 5. So except a 5, bring all the other values. Bring all the other values except that particular 5. And apart from that, you have this one. So between, and then say not between operator. So in case of between operator, you provide a range of values. So in this particular case, I'm giving region ID between 5 and then 7 basically. So just click OK. This is my condition, region ID between 5 and 7. So what do you feel? Whether you get 3 regions or whether you get 1 region? You get 1 region. Okay. But how they have defined SQL basically, right? So in case of a SQL, that between basically, right, is a inclusive of your boundaries. So what does that mean is, so general English fine, between 5 and 7 means only 6. But if you look at this one, the same filter condition has fetched values for 5, 6 and 7. So in any SQL you take, right, so whenever you use that between operator, whenever you issue that between operator, that between operators means it is of inclusive of the values. Inclusive means even that 5 and 7 are included as part of condition. So 5, 6, 7, right? So whenever you just take care of between, right? Whenever you use between operator, just ensure that these boundaries are also calculated. This is called starting boundary. This is called ending boundary. So both these boundaries are also calculated. Both these values are also included as part of your condition. So between, not between means except this, all the other values it is going to pull. So if you look at this one, exactly in list, not in list, between, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, different from, not between. All these are the same or operators basically. But on the textual, basically on that elements, whatever you see, right, you want to apply condition on that one, right? So instead of ID, you just switch on to descriptive, and if this particular value is a numeric, right, you apply condition till not between. Or in other case, you can apply condition from is null and is not null. So I mean, I've given assignment. I don't have time now because hardly we have 5 minutes more. So is null, is not null, we'll skip today. For today, we'll see tomorrow. So then apart from this, I have something called begins with. Begins with, say for example, I give something called is. So what it happens basically is, I'll get all the list of regions which begins with means starts with, which begins with means starts with. So again, all these are very simple things. You can just start practicing. So begins with, and then forget about like for a minute, then contains. What is difference between begins with and contains means, begins with means it should be the first character. It should be the first character. When we say contains, in the entire string, it can be present at any place. So you have your name in that, like say any character that you want to search in the entire string, then you go for contains. Ends with, again opposite of begins with. So I want all the names which ends with a and so on. So for which you go for this ends with, does not begins with. So this is something, the first character is apart from X, you want all other characters, then you can go for this one. Not like, I will come back, does not contain. So if it doesn't contain that character, you want to pull that information. Does not end with, so you don't want to end this. All these are like very basic I mean English, right? So and then this is a very basic math, this basic English, that's it. So only the thing you need to be careful here is between operator. You need to remember that both are inclusive in the condition, and apart from that, the other one is like. What is difference between like and then begins? Basically means, so whenever we say begins, it is one character. But say for example, whenever you have like, right, so here you can provide a while character search or something. Say for example, you can give some particular thing and then issue something called percentile, and then say for example H, whatever. So in this particular case, what it does is, the first two characters you're defining as SO, means first it checks SO, and then remaining whatever characters it has, it is fine. Third, fourth, fifth, 10th, whatever it is. But again it should end with H. Again it should end with H. So if I don't have H like this, so whichever start with SO, and then it can have any number of other characters, all these details are going to pull on the report. Or else I just write like this, say percentile, then say for example SA. So what it does basically is, first few characters can be anything, but again the last two characters should be SA. The last two characters should be SA. So the same percentile you can put as last as well. First you can have whatever characters it is, ending you can have whatever character it is, but between there should be SA letter in it. Alright. Here you can have one character or you can have say multiple characters as well. So based on your requirement you are going to customize it. So you want 3 characters, after that any number of other characters. First any number of other characters, ending character should be this one. So for all that specific things, right? So what you can do is you can make use of a like operator. So opposite of this is a not like operator. So this is what I mean. Say whenever you want to apply condition on an attribute, right? So what we do is we come to the attribute qualification. I'll show you tomorrow how to apply multiple condition. So these are not case sensitive, like it is a case insensitive. We can go upper, lower. It is going to take that. Okay. So now this is what I mean. What is that I want you to practice who are already started is, so just get to attribute qualification and just click on OK, and then browse any attribute here, whatever it is. I've just browsed say region, right? You can just go ahead and then just say, for example, instead of browsing up region, you can just browse supplier, you can just browse subcategory, whatever you want, item, employee, and then under this you just come here and then you just choose any one of them. So either element or else ID or descriptive, and then choose this particular operator and just work on few different reports, few basic reports. Okay, create filter, develop a report, use this filter and run it, and just try to get used to creating reports and placing these particular filters and work all things. One example with element, one example for ID you better take a between operator so that you get used to that between operator, and then descriptive, under descriptive just play with like operator, and then the begins with or ends with. Generally whenever it is textual, right, we use most of the cases as like operator itself. So just try out an example with a like operator. So at least people who have lab access create this particular 3 reports, one example on ID, one on a descriptive, and then one on the elements, and others, right? So just wait for a day or two. I mean, we'll give a remote access to server wherein you can connect and work. And today I'm not sure, there is like a lot of problem in the connectivity. I think because of that 20 to 25 minutes we wasted our time. So fine, I'll just see, I mean, what best can be done, or I'm planning to install in my machine only so that I can, I mean, instead of connecting remote, I can connect from my thing. So probably, yeah, tomorrow or day after tomorrow till Saturday, I'll be getting that done in my system. So in order to avoid this particular connectivity issues as such. So fine then, uh, we'll end today and then we'll catch up tomorrow and see the set qualification. But again, people who have connectivity to lab, just try to complete at least 3 reports today. So who doesn't have, then probably just try to complete, I mean, we'll provide you access soon in a day too so that you get started with the lab. So okay then, thanks all for your time. We'll catch up tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, bye.